everybody just flipped out. I mean, I remember I was there. There was screaming going on. Exactly what had been prayed for, and the screaming got even louder. So that it's absolutely extraordinary. I do honestly think my mother's prayers are very powerful.
This is Touched by Heaven, everyday encounters with God. Those moments when heaven and earth collide and we see God. In these incredible encounter stories with angels, divine intervention, prophetic dreams, visions, near-death experiences, welcome. I'm your host, Trapper Jack. And every week, if you're with us every week, you kind of, I wonder what's on the program today. Well, I wonder always the same thing myself, and sometimes God makes it a mystery to me. I tell you about the music that plays in my head and things like that, and it leads me and guides me. Well, that happened this week. This one particular song was playing over and over again, and I figured it has something to do with the podcast. I'm not sure what. It's the Frank Sinatra song, Luck Be a Lady Tonight. And I thought, well, I remember using it in an episode before Touched by Heaven. There was a podcast I had called Blind Faith Live. So I thought, man, maybe there's something in the episode. And I listened, and I think there is. There's a particular story in that particular episode that I've always loved. It's one of my all-time favorite Touched by Heaven kind of stories. So I figured, I don't know where this episode's going, but apparently I'm supposed to use this story of a friend of mine, Steve Eierman, told me this story. We were at a gathering one night, and he started telling the story. I said, this is for the podcast. This is too good. So I'm going to play you the story of Steve Eierman, his mom, who was making this big spaghetti dinner one night. She's got family, she's got friends over, but she's got a problem. In the midst of making the spaghetti sauce, she finds out she's missing a key ingredient. And is this something you pray for, you know?
Yes, it's the power of prayer. Let's put it that way.
Okay.
That's a good way to put it.
Okay,
Here's the deal on this thing is that years ago when Steve was going to college, he was coming home from college, and Mom was fixing a big spaghetti dinner. And she was also inviting friends over, including Marietta. Now, Marietta, agnostic at best, and would make fun of Steve's mom because she was always praying. She was very overt about her faith and her prayers. And so here's Marietta, always ready to jump at the opportunity to go, to kind of jabber a little bit about her faith.
This is in the days before prepared sauces like ragu and such. So my mother was putting together some spaghetti sauce in a big pot. And, they're carrying on a conversation and they're drinking and there's a lot of banter. And my mom's just doing her thing at the stove while, there's a conversation going on. And she realizes that she didn't have any tomato paste. And, the little can of the thick stuff. And she said something about it, and Marietta mocked my mother in a jovial way. I mean, they were very good friends. And so Marietta says, "Oh, why don't you pray for it?" And so my mother takes her up on this challenge, and kind of tongue in cheek, but all of my mother's prayers are sincere.
Right.
And so the way I remember it is she kind of raised her hands and, she made this exaggerated kind of prayer. "Dear Lord, please, I don't have any tomato paste. I need tomato paste, please." And of course, no tomato paste appeared on the countertop. So she thought, well, let's make do with what we've got. And she found a big can of tomato sauce. And, they're carrying on the conversation. They're not really thinking about this anymore. And my mom opens up the can of tomato sauce and she pours it into the pot while there's some conversation going on. And out of this can of tomato sauce comes a small can.
Amidst all the goo of the red.
Yes, it's all mixed in. There is tomato sauce in this can, but there's also a small can, the size of a can of tomato paste. And everybody just flipped out. I mean, I remember I was there. There was screaming going on. Of course, they open it up and it is filled with tomato paste. Exactly what had been prayed for. And the screaming got even louder. I've never heard of a can of anything being in anything else, much less exactly the product you're praying for at the moment.
Right.
So that it's absolutely extraordinary. I do honestly think my mother's prayers are very powerful.
And
But there is a postscript to this story.
okay.
This isn't just tomato paste and wowing an agnostic to go, look at that. Maybe prayer does work. Maybe you should think about there is a God and God does answer these prayers. God expanded beyond that, well beyond that.
Years later, the son of Marietta,
The agnostic.
yes,
Okay.
and he's a very devout believer. He's an evangelical Christian, and he's the headmaster of a Christian school in Atlanta. And so years later, he was diagnosed with brain cancer, and it was very serious. And he called my parents for support and asked for their prayers. And of course, they prayed for him, but they also went to the store and they bought a can of tomato paste and they mailed it to him as a reminder of, what God can do. And he was healed. The doctors considered it miraculous. And to this day, he has that can of tomato paste on his mantle in Atlanta, Georgia. And it's really about the power of prayer. So it's a beautiful thing. It's almost comical. It's kind of cartoonish. It's very simple. I've never heard of anything like this, but I was there and I saw it, and I am a witness.
I love it. I love that story. Now I know where this episode's going. Has to do with how we pray, you and me. Okay, how did Steve's mom pray? Did she tell God what to do? No, she gave him the problem. I have no tomato paste. I'm making a spaghetti dinner here. I have no tomato. Wait, isn't that biblical? I'm picturing a wedding feast of Cana. Mary goes to Jesus. They have no tomato paste. Well, similar. There was this wine issue? And did Mary say, get the boys stomping on the grapes here? No. They have no wine. She just states the problem. She does not tell God what to do. I don't know about you, but I can fall into that telling God what to do. I know the best solution for things. And in there's a book called Ensinu Jesu, which I absolutely love, and a lot of priests and bishops, they recommend this book. But in it, Jesus tells this monk, bring me your problems. Bring me your health issues, your money issues, your people issues. Bring all of your issues to me. Just don't bring me your solutions. Don't tell God what to do. Because at that wedding feast, who would have ever come up with the concept of 6 large jars being filled with water and then turned into wine? You can't outdo God. So why are we trying to tell him what to do when his way is the most magnificent way, the most amazing way of handling it, whether we get it in the moment or not? So that's where we're going today. Okay, now then, and then that immediately takes me to episode 99. I don't think I've run this part of the episode since then. I don't know, I forget. But anyway, it's Olga. Olga, Cuban immigrant in New York, family there. She's going to school. Mom and dad are about to get her divorced. That means there's not going to be as much money. So her education is going to do a shift, and that worries her. So does she tell God what to do? In her case, she always goes to Mary to intercede for her, as the wedding couple did, and then take it to Jesus, and you'll see why she does that. But again, listen to the power in your prayer when you don't tell God what to do, but just give him the problem.
This is my favorite story.
Back in the 8th grade, the kids got bad news. Mom and dad were splitting up. No more Catholic schools. It was going to be public schools for the 3 girls. Well, for Olga, this devastated her. By everything she understood at the time, this meant, oh no, I'm not going to get into the right college. I'm not going to get the right work. I'm not going to get the right training. This was going to set up a line of events, a string of events that was just going to be devastating to her. Her whole life was through as far as she was concerned. So that night, she went to bed in tears, crying, and she turned to the Blessed Mother Mary.
And I wasn't praying. I was having a conversation with her. I was just crying and weeping and just venting, telling her how afraid and I was, and that my education was important to me, and that I didn't want to be stupid, and I wanted to go to college. And, the things an 8th grader would say. I didn't ask for anything. I was just venting. And then suddenly, as if a sedative had kicked in, and I had perfect calm and perfect peace. And And I knew, I didn't understand, but I knew that my education would always be taken care of. It was knowing. It wasn't a belief. It wasn't anything that was transmitted to me. I didn't hear anything. It was sort of as if the peace and the knowing were the same thing. And I was so calm so suddenly that I just fell asleep.
A week or two later, Olga's home. It's daytime, weekday. It's after school. Phone rings. Now, Mom and Dad have split up by then. Mom's off at work, and Olga's answering the phone, and it's one of her teachers. This has to be bad news. Teachers don't call home unless it's bad news, and they're looking for, Mom or Dad.
All of my teachers in school were nuns. My English teacher, her name was Sister Audrey. And she said, well, I called to ask you, where do you want to go to high school? And I was like, what? Where do you want to go to high school? She was getting frustrated with me. And so I answered, I said, St. Joseph by the Sea High School. It was an all-girls private Catholic high school, and it was a country club. And it was it was expensive. It was on acres of land. It was magnificent. Only the daughters of the mafia got to go there, And she just hung up the phone. She didn't say, okay, thank you, goodbye, boom. No, she just hung up the phone. Shortly thereafter, my parents received a letter from St. Joseph by the Sea saying that I had not only been admitted, but that I had been granted a full scholarship.
Well, the family's not about to look a gift horse in the mouth. It's not like they're going to raise their hand and go, excuse me, did you guys make a mistake? Heck no. Off goes Olga to Country Club Estates High School.
And it wasn't as if I was the teacher's pet. I mean, she would always say things to me like, Olga, you have a mind like a sieve. And I didn't know what a sieve was because my mom didn't own a colander. She didn't own a sieve. But I knew that it wasn't a compliment from her tone. So it wasn't like I was her favorite child or anything, her favorite student. Oh, and here's another thing. Mediocre grades. I'm no scholar. I was no scholar. My grades were mediocre. I didn't merit a scholarship. And it happened, on the heels of my crying and weeping and feeling calm and, and the phone call. And to be clear, when I felt at peace, it was that all of my education would be taken care of.
Olga wanted to go to NYU. She doesn't have the grades to get a free ride. So she sits down with her counselor and says, what can I get? What can we do here?
And she said, okay, you're going to get this scholarship and you're going to get this grant and you're going to get this tuition waiver and you're going to get, and I'm like, wait a minute. How much do I have to spend out of pocket? And she said, nothing. And again, I'm like, what? And I said to her, how can that be? Why am I getting all of this money? And she said, and she looked at me and she goes, honey, because of your SAT scores. To this day, I don't know what my SAT scores were.
And again, she does really well in testing, this time for the MCATs, and she gets into medical school, pre-med, for her science classes. And sometimes when she's taking classes, she's also teaching, which enables her to take, again, free classes. She goes into the military. Well, that gets her more free education, gets her into law school.
So between teaching fellowships and scholarships and grants and tuition waivers and military benefits, all of those degrees were free to me. I earned a bachelor's degree, 3 masters, and a doctorate, all for free. That was a lot of education.
It's a lot of education for basically nothing.
Right.
Your relationship with Mary has remained strong as well?
Of course, throughout my life. Mary has my back, And it's not even prayer for me, it's conversation. It's like talking to a friend. Yeah, I don't ask for anything. I'm grateful. I'm super grateful for everything I've been blessed with in my life. And so just my conversations are about gratitude.
So in your prayers, you generally don't ask for something?
I never ask.
So when even as an 8th grader and you're going through this, oh no, I'm going through this hardship, Mary, you are more telling her more, I don't want to call it a rant, but you were. Exactly.
I needed to vent. I needed to be comforted. I needed someone to talk to. I knew that if I wept and cried with my parents, it wasn't going to, it would only upset them more. They were upset. They were getting a divorce. It wasn't going to add to the situation, and I trusted Mary. I knew she heard me. the whole intention thing. I intend. I have a good work ethic. I have a good study ethic, right? I'm driven to succeed and to make something of myself. I always have been. So I've always set goals for myself, right? And I've worked towards those goals, and I've intended to be successful. And so I guess, and it's like God helps those who help themselves.
Mm-hmm.
I guess that's what it comes down to for
Right,
me.
right.
So I knew I had to help myself, and I helped myself as much as I possibly could, knowing that in the background that things were happening in my favor, like with Sister Audrey.
Yeah. I guess I've gotten better at the, whatever your will, I know it's the best. I know I may not understand what's going on right now. There's a lot of that in the conversation. Yes. There's a lot of that, that it's in His timing. It's in His plan. If it fits, it fits. Because whatever way it goes, it's the best way, whether I realize it or not.
I believe that, and I've expressed that. Your will be done, whatever it is. You won't give me anything that I can't handle.
Yeah,
I've believed, and so that was that, and I hope this has helped.
Absolutely. Oh, absolutely. This is a great podcast episode. It's very simple, but also very powerful in how you pray and how you've prayed through your life. And I think the real lesson is in your prayer and your connection, your beautiful connection to God. There you go. From episode 99, Olga, very powerful story of prayer. I'll give you one of my own personal ones here, because this happened on the way and in Medjugorje recently. Okay, so at 35,000 feet. We're going across the Atlantic. We got, 30 plus podcast listeners going to Medjugorje, a place of miracles, right? A place of conversion. All the wonderful things have been happening since 1981. Well, what an odd place to have my white cane break. And, that's my radar device. That tells me there's a chair over there. Oh, there's a curb there. There's a step there. The little things like that. I required, as a blind guy, to have my white cane. It helps a lot. I can see a little bit, but not enough. I need the white cane, and it breaks. What does that mean? Well, my cane folds up, and so there's a stretchy, stringy thing inside that allows me to do that, and the stretchy, stringy thing broke on the way to the restroom. This is one place I can't do a whole lot about it at 35,000 feet. It's like, what a strange place to have my cane break. And I admit that in that moment, me always looking for signs. Oh, are you trying to tell me, God, that I'm not going to need this real soon? Are you telling me there's going to be a miracle in Medjugorje? I admit I went to that place, and there's nothing wrong with praying for that. You want a healing? Sure, you can ask for the healing. However, one of the things I've noticed with God, with Jesus, it's more important to Him that we become better versions of ourselves, that we become more like Him in the process, much more so than Him just snapping His fingers and going, there, you can see, there, you can get out of the wheelchair, there goes every problem there, your financial issues are all fixed. Along the way, in the midst of doing whatever He's doing with each and every one of us, He wants to complete us, to bring us to a higher level of perfection. The Bible says that, be perfect like the Father, which is, we know, impossible, but He's trying to bring us to a certain place, a certain level, right? Okay. And with me too. So when I look at my blindness, and I told you this, over the last few years in particular, I got this message from Jesus: I am going to take a wrecking ball to your fears. And He's been doing that over the last few years. He's just been annihilating the fears that I grew up with, okay? For an example, when I'm 13, 14, 15 years old and I'm losing the peripheral vision, and I'm losing my vision at night, and what's going on, and I tell no one, because who would like a kid who has something wrong with them? I don't even tell my parents. And they're good parents, they're good people, but that's where I was. That's where my insecurity was, and that's how much of the enemy's BS I'm taking. That, yeah, you should be afraid. You need to build up walls with people. Don't show your vulnerability. And so during my teens and 20s, even into my 30s, I am just building up all these walls around me and living a very a solitude life, just shutting so much out, Oh, and my prayer in the midst of all of it as I'm on that flight across the Atlantic was not to tell God what to do. It wasn't although asking for healing, I didn't tell him to heal me. God, this is the perfect moment for you to do it. Come on, man. No, I just gave him the problem. I have no white cane. I have no tomato paste. They have no wine. It's all the same prayer. Give it to him and then watch the miracle. So what is he doing in this moment? What's he about to show me? If there's any bits and pieces of this belief system that who would like a kid that has something wrong with them, he destroys it on this trip to Medjugorje. What does he do? Okay, we get to Medjugorje, and fellow pilgrims, the podcast listeners and all, they hear about my white cane. They go to where I go. Oh, miracle coming. Praying for it. Praying for you, Trapper. You get your miracle. The next morning at breakfast, one of the pilgrims, listener Michelle, comes to me and she says, here, I brought a walking stick with me. I think she said her dad gave it to her like 30 years ago. So it's adjustable in its height. It's everything but white to tell people that I'm blind, but it can do all the same things. It can chair, curb, stairs, it can tell me the same things. This is a huge benefit. It's like, oh, this would work, right? So here's Michelle trying to help the blind guy. Then Claire, hi Claire. Claire's episode 365, great episode. She happens to be in Medjugorje at the same time with a different group, but she and I are trying to connect. We talk about crossing in the day for about 2 minutes, but hearing about my issue, she goes to the store in Medjugorje and buys like packing materials like that would wrap up a box, let's say, for shipping or something. And she meets me and she says, I got you some tape and it's like, so maybe, and what she's picturing is that maybe at the place where the cane folds, just tape it straight so it'll be firm so that I can use the white cane. I mean, just this beautiful, loving heart that let me help you so you can use your white cane. Okay. And then my wife, who is not an engineer, but should be, she has an engineer's mind and should have gone on to school for this. She starts taking the white cane apart a bit and kind of restringing it and says, well, if you just fold it once, but don't try to fold it more than that. There is this one place you can fold it and it could be firm and it'll hold and this would work. Okay. Just outpouring of love from different people, including my wife, on trying to help the blind guy use the white cane because Amazon does not deliver to Medjugorje. I can't just order it with 2-day shipping. Everyone says, Amazon's not a thing here. Okay. So through the week, through all these people trying to help, I'm getting around. I'm getting around, and I'm good. I'm good. So following Medjugorje, Elizabeth and I then go on to Italy to join another pilgrimage of our parish here in Ohio, led by my parochial vicar, Father Joe Menkhaus, and Father Mike Garvin, and there's 47 of us are all going to be getting together over in Italy. So we land in Rome, and my priest, Father Joe Menkhaus, says here, he's heard of the problem, has driven cross town in Cleveland to the Cleveland Sight Center, picked up a new white cane for me, delivered it to me in Rome, my brand new white cane. I'm going, this is a busy priest, and the love that pours out of this guy for me in this moment, I'm overwhelmed. Between Father Joe, Michelle, Claire, my wife, all the pilgrims praying for me, obliterating, wrecking ball to who would like a kid who has something wrong with him. Obliterates it all. Just the love that came pouring out of people. So what's more important on this trip to Medjugorje? What was more important? Getting my sight back or perfecting me to understand that this life is about love and people want to love. People with God within them, with Jesus within them, can't help but love and show that love. And that's what I was receiving. And that's what they were being allowed to give because they knew of my problem. It wasn't a matter of putting up walls. I was letting people know, I'm not sure how I'm doing this week. And it just poured out of people because people want to help. because people love, and they love people that have things wrong with them, because we all have things wrong with us, because we are all broken. You're broken and you know it. As much as you try to hide it, I'm broken in ways you don't know. And I'm in my vulnerability, I'm showing more and more of that to people around me and to you here on the podcast, and including in this moment. It was a beautiful lesson. It was just an absolutely beautiful lesson. At 35,000 feet, with what on earth am I going to do? I mean, he could have done it the week before. God could have allowed he could have broken the cane a week, but no. That would have given me time to fix it myself. No, he wanted people helping me to take a wrecking ball to the fears in all of our lives, because fear does not come from God. It comes from the enemy. And fear is, I think, at the center of every one of our lives in our battle against it, and to understand what it is, and that the devil can be so cunning. He doesn't call it fear. He says, no, you need to protect yourself to make sure you don't get hurt, It's all a lie. Follow Jesus, follow love. There you go. I have no white cane. I have no tomato paste. They have no wine. It's all the same prayer. Give it to him, and then watch the miracle. What's your story? Let me know here at touchedbyheaven.net. Okay. Thanks for the Patreon help. Appreciate it so much. It keeps this going. With our Patreon shout out this week to Sue Vandeveld. Thank you, Sue. And I'll see you next week here on Touched by Heaven. Everyday encounters with God. I'm Trapper Jack. Before we go, any questions? You in the back? Yeah, go ahead.
Where do you want to go to high school?
What?